Hello everyone, this is Pal Ponder on Weather coming at you with another video. In this update, we're going to be talking about a major winter storm for Texas and snow for parts of the South. So before I do get started, if you do like weather related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. And I do ask you to share this video with your friends and family on social media. All right, so let's get started. Here is the latest map from the Weather Prediction Center. And how often do you see this? Coming up on Sunday, we're talking heavy snow for Texas. Yes, West Texas and Central Texas. Places like Lubbock could pick up 4 to 8 inches of snow from this developing winter storm that we're going to be talking about in this video. If we take a look at the watches and warnings, we've already got some winter storm watches posted for parts of New Mexico and getting into West Texas, extending into Central Texas as this developing storm starts to take shape. Now let's kind of extend the view and kind of take you through how all this is going to play out. Here is the latest satellite picture of this storm. Yeah, we're talking it's way out in the Pacific. I mean, this thing looks like a hurricane out there. Check out the updrafts. Now, this updraft tells me this system is pretty strong, and this is going to probably play a key role down the line of how the dynamics of the system is going to play out. What's going to happen is later on today, this is going to dive to keep extending to the east, come ashore tonight into tomorrow morning, and that's when we'll start to feel the storm kind of taking shape. And so as we move through Friday, this is the latest look by Friday afternoon into Friday night. You see that developing storm system start to approach the California, Oregon, and Washington coast with some snow as it moves inland. Now, this particular snow event will start to dive southeast with a little bit of snow into Idaho, getting into Utah and portions of Montana. And this will continue diving off to the southeast as we go into Saturday evening. This is Saturday evening on the 9th. I kind of zoomed into the southern portion of this event. At that time frame, we'll have some snow kind of breaking out over the Colorado Rockies, getting into portions of Denver. Now, as we kind of extend the view, check out the temperatures. Now, let me kind of walk you through how all this is going to play out. We've got 60 degrees down in Brownsville. We've got low 50s in parts of Houston. And we've got lower to middle 40s in Dallas. But check out up above. This is Saturday afternoon. We've got freezing temperatures to the north. Now, this is going to play a key role as this kind of moves through from west to east. Now, as it moves through, as this low pressure continues to dive down to the southeast, it'll tap into some of the warm Gulf moisture. And as it does that, it creates that updraft. And with that updraft, we'll have some rain to the south side, and we'll start to make that transition into an all snow by that time frame over the wee hours of Saturday evening and going into the early portions of Sunday morning, where some heavier snow start to break out in Colorado, getting into Kansas, the northwestern portions of Oklahoma Panhandle, as well as the Texas Panhandle, and that'll get it approaching Lubbock, where that's when the winter storm watches will start to take place. Now, as we kind of move through, the reason why snow is so difficult to predict for the South, it's a combination. You have to have all layers of the atmosphere to be cold enough to snow. And typically, it's a form of what they call dynamic cooling. Now, let me kind of take you through all this. So it all starts as snow, right? And so if we have that kind of a warm layer aloft in between, say 1,000 to 5,000 feet, if it's warm enough, it'll transfer to all rain. And then as it's falling, if we have a surface temperatures at freezing, but the mid layers are above freezing, then that will fall as freezing rain. Now, as we kind of cool the atmosphere even further, as this layer kind of thins, we'll have a transition from a snow to a rain to a kind of a sleet mix. And then, of course, if all layers of the atmosphere are cold enough, it'll snow. Now, the challenging part for the South is a dynamic called dynamic cooling. So I talked about the updraft in the Pacific. And so you noticed how strong it was with those deep reds. As it kind of taps into that Gulf moisture, there's a process called dynamic cooling. We'll have the stronger the updraft, that creates that lift. And as it creates the lift, it'll tap into some of those cooler air up above where it's snowing. That will set the stage and kind of drag down some of that cooler air to the surface. Now, the stronger the updraft, the faster the transition from a rain to sleet to snow. And I believe with that strong updraft that we kind of showed you in the Pacific, as it taps into that Gulf moisture, we're going to get a quick transition from a rain to a snow. And when that happens, we're talking like large snow globe snowflakes out there. So we'll see some big snowflakes because the temperature is probably going to be around 32, 35 degrees. So this is going to be an above freezing event. And that's why it's going to be a wet snow and a very kind of heavy snow in spots. And we'll see big, massive snowflakes. So wherever that dynamic cooling takes place, it can actually be the difference of about 5 degrees. And that makes a huge difference in the forecast as far as like accumulations. Because let me kind of walk you through this. As we go into Sunday, you can see the atmosphere kind of turning over. These greens start to kind of bubble up. We'll even have some transition to some yellows by then. That's basically indicative of the stronger updraft. And look at the transition line. You see, it's kind of a squeeze play. We'll have rain on the south side, but where that dynamic cooling takes place, it'll help drag the colder air from the north and have that turnover effect. And that's when we'll see some of those heavier snows start to break out. Look at the darker blues. That's when we'll see some of those big fat snowflakes start to fly in West Texas. And this will start to enter the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You'll start off as rain and make a quick transition to an all snow event, I think, with some big, huge snowflakes. And you can see the stronger the updraft, the quicker the transition for that snow to fly. And I do think it extends by, we're talking 6 o'clock on Sunday evening now, to an all snow event in the Dallas-Fort Worth area with some heavier amounts into West Texas, where they could pick up 4 to 8 inches in Lubbock and possibly 3 to 6 in places like Abilene. And, this will continue pushing off to the east as we go through Sunday night. Here's the low pressure. You can see the updraft even intensifies further with those darker yellows and oranges, getting even some reds now. And look at the transition, you see? So the dynamic cooling is going to be a key role in this system. That's why models are kind of all over the place with, particular snow amounts, because the difference in dynamic cooling with 5 degrees makes all the difference in the world of the amount of snow that's going to be able to fly. But I do think with this system, I think we're going to have strong updrafts and making a quick transition, and we're going to have some heavier snow amounts than what some of the models are kind of implying because of that dynamic cooling. Because look at that. Here's the temperatures on the backside of it as the snow continues to fall. Check out where the dynamic cooling takes place. Look at the difference. See where the snow falls between 32, 33, 35 degrees. Look where the snow didn't fall, it's 37, 39, 38. It's too far away from that low pressure. It's not feeling the effects of the updraft. So therefore, there's no squeeze play taking effect, and we've got no snow. It's just too far away. And so where that low tracks and where it's able to tap into that dynamic cooling, that is going to be the sweet spot of some heavier snow as this continues pushing off to the east. And as this continues pushing off the east with that dynamic cooling, check this out. We're talking snow. Yes, in Louisiana. That is a rare event, guys, but that is on the table with this system into central and northern Louisiana, getting into southern portions of Arkansas. This is going into Sunday night with that transition on the backside, still of all snow into Dallas. And as we go into Monday morning, that'll start to end in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and continue pushing off to the east, south side of Arkansas, now getting into portions of Mississippi, of all places. Yeah, you're going to get some snow from this event too as well. And check out the low. It's still kicking strong with a very dynamic system with these reds and yellows to the south side. And as this continues to push, this will actually kind of lift. The low pressure will lift. And as it's lifting, it misses the dynamics of the Gulf moisture. So as it does, it kind of loses its luster a little bit and it's not as dynamic. So the changeover isn't as quick from the dynamic cooling aspect. So therefore the snow amounts start to come down in places of like northern, Mississippi, getting into northern Alabama by then. And I think this will start to kind of lessen even further as that low pressure continues kind of to lift. So now let's take a look at some of the, the different models and the different snow amounts. And so these amounts will kind of change because obviously this system has not even made land off California yet, but you can kind of see where a heavier swath, where I do think this is kind of a good aspect of 4 to 8 inches, and West Texas, getting into Lubbock and Abilene. I think portions of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you will see snow, possibly say 2 inches for say. I think some of the heavier snow is going to be south of you in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You could see some snow into Houston. I'm talking probably portions of northern Houston. If you live on northern Houston, yes. South Houston, no. I think you're just too far to the south. But going into portions of central and Louisiana, I think this model is particularly overdone. I don't think the snow reaches that far south into Louisiana. And this will extend the view into Mississippi. Now let's take a look at the Canadian. I love the swath of this system. So the amounts will kind of change, but I do like the aspect of this swath of snow pulling through. I think the heavier amounts are going to set up over West Texas, and I do think this is overdone with this particular model. And we'll look at the latest European model. I think it's nailing the West Texas aspect of it now. But it kind of loses its luster with some of the dynamic cooling on the backside. So these, like I said, these snow amounts will change as this low starts to enter onshore. And then here's the latest UK Met model, kind of implying the same thing. I like the swath with a good 4 to 6, 8 inches of snow into West Texas, getting into Central Texas, going into Louisiana. So that is on the table. We're talking a major snowstorm for Texas. We'll have updates later on with this same system, probably later on tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.